All right, let's bring on our
It's
good friend Mike
McAllister
McAllister. It is 12:30 on a Monday.
I think we should lead with basketball today, right?
Well, yeah. Jordan was just in here chatting about Alex Costanza, so let's start there. Five-star recruit reclassifying to the class of 2025. I know he was on campus this past weekend. What can you tell us about this situation, Mike?
Yeah, so first of all, he has to come to Syracuse just so we can use all the Seinfeld memes and puns and everything else. So
I already asked Jordan if he was sleeping under my desk. But
that's well done. So the Seinfeld fan in me is really hoping for that. But that aside, yeah, he's an elite player in the 2026 class. He's a composite 5-star by 24/7 Sports. And for those who are unfamiliar, the composite is basically the average ranking of all of the major recruiting services into kind of one lump sum. So it kind of combines them all and has him as a 5-star top 20-ish type player in the class. And he's a small forward that's about 6'8". He has guard-like skills. He's about as good as it gets. He is strongly considering a reclassification to the 2025 class, where he would still be a very highly ranked player. And the Syracuse's pitch this weekend, I think, likely included how they're going to use him. The fact that Red wants to use an up-tempo offense, and the fact that even though he might technically line up at forward, that given his skill set, or potentially shooting guard, that they're going to put the ball in his hands quite a bit because they think he can run the offense, he can run things in transition, sort of how they're going to use him, take advantage of his skill set, all of that. And then I think also kind of outlining the plan on the benefits of reclassifying to 2025 and starting college a little bit early. So all of that, I think, is part of the pitch that went down. Another interesting side note is that his dad actually played it professionally in the Dominican Republic at the same time that Coach Autry did. So there's a little connection there. And his dad has been very positive about things with Syracuse on social media, posting pictures, retweeting a lot of stuff that fans have put out. So it seems like things are looking pretty positive at this standpoint.
What is the Anthony tie to this? It seems like every story I've seen has tied it to Anthony coming here also.
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure what the connection there is between those two families. I think part of it was that there was a rumor out there that perhaps Kyan and Carmelo were going to be in town this weekend to visit as well, and so the visits were going to kind of correspond with each other. That was not the case. Kyan didn't visit, although I do believe he's trying to get back up on campus before he makes his final decision, which should be coming, I think, early November, potentially the first week in November. So that's something to keep an eye on, but I don't have any exact knowledge on what the direct correspondence between the two are, other than I'm sure they're familiar with each other from, AAU circuits and things of that nature.
What kind of percentage would you put on, I guess, both of them coming here? I mean, Kyan's strongly believed that he's coming here, right? I mean, what kind of percent chance would you put on it?
Yeah, so for Kyan, the thing is, I feel like if I say, I feel like it's a 90% chance, and then something happens that he doesn't come, then You're going to get blasted, right?
Right.
Oh, you said he was definitely coming, and 90% is not definitely, and recruiting is always fluid. I would say probably at this point you feel pretty good, like 75% chance that he's coming or so, because I don't like to go much higher than that, just because I know how recruiting works. But you still feel pretty good. It's Syracuse-USC battle, even though Auburn's kind of there, and I think Syracuse has the upper hand currently, and if he visits another time before making that decision, that would be another feather in Syracuse's cap there. As far as Costanza goes, that's a little bit more difficult to read. I think if he does end up reclassifying to 2025, that would put things largely in Syracuse's favor. The early signing period is coming up in 2 to 3 weeks. It's an early November early signing period. And so if he's going to reclassify to 2025, fresh off of an official visit to Syracuse, those would be huge green flags if you're a Syracuse fan, pointing towards that's what the likely final decision is going to be.
All right, let's switch gears. Let's talk some football now. And, Paulie brought up this question as we were getting started. He said, this game against Pittsburgh, the biggest game for this program since when? And, we've seen a couple big ones. A caller, mentioned the Clemson game a couple years ago. Even going back to the 2018 season, there were some big games that year, late in the year, especially the Notre Dame game at Yankee Stadium. How big of a game is this for Syracuse football?
It's big, kind of maybe similar in terms of this individual season to what some of those were. You remember back when they were going to play Notre Dame, there was some like outside talk about if they win that game, could they find a way to potentially sneak into the playoff conversation because of how highly ranked Syracuse was at the time and what their situation and record was. This is different because it's not, an established coach. It's a program with a new direction. You've already had a lot of buzz and a lot of hype in terms of what that's meant on the recruiting trail. You start out 5-1, even though you still kind of have that eyebrow-raising loss to Stanford at this point when you've seen what they've done since that game. But you win this game, you're going to be ranked, you're going to be 6-1, and you've set yourself up to essentially control your own destiny for the most part. You would still need a Clemson or an SMU to lose. But if you win out the rest of the way, you are going to be in the ACC championship game. Winning this game, it's one of your quote-unquote more difficult games left, probably your second most difficult next to your home game against Miami. And it puts everything that, when dark horses were talked about this offseason, about dark horse playoff teams, dark horse ACC championship contenders, Syracuse was mentioned in a lot of those groups. And it sort of brings that to fruition. Now it changes the dynamic in that you'll have the bullseye on your back instead of chasing others, but everything that you've wanted, getting Syracuse in a national conversation, getting Kyle McCord some more publicity so that his Heisman campaign can get a little more legs to it, all of those types of things, which are great for the program, great for recruiting and all of that, that is all on the line here because if you win this game, I think it's going to take anyone who is still a skeptic as to where this program is headed, it will get them onto the right side of that fence.
What stands out to you about this Pittsburgh team? 6-0, and I've been hesitant to fully buy into them, but midway through the season, they're undefeated, they're ranked. I mean, what do you like about the Panthers?
Well, they have escaped loss at least 2 or 3 times. One of which was Cal missed a very short field goal that probably should have beaten them. They had a couple of huge comebacks, second-half comebacks against teams that were up by quite a bit against them, Cincinnati being probably the most memorable one there, West Virginia the other one. And so they're a team that is undefeated. They're ranked in the top 20, but they're not a team that is, blown everybody out, that they've beaten everybody by 3 or 4 touchdowns. So I think if you're a Syracuse fan going into this game, you don't look at Pittsburgh as having this huge talent advantage that Syracuse is going to have to play perfect and hope that Pitt doesn't play its best in order to beat them. What I have noticed from Pittsburgh is they are kind of what they have been under Pat Narduzzi in that they're a very physical team. They're good at the lines of scrimmage. They run the ball very well. They're averaging almost 6 yards a carry as a team. That's something Syracuse has struggled with this season. So that's going to be something to watch for sure. And then defensively, they do a really good job of getting after the quarterback. So when Syracuse had its setback against Stanford, one of the biggest issues was protecting Kyle McCord. And if you're a Syracuse fan looking at an area of this game that makes you a little bit nervous, I think that's where I would point to, because if you give Kyle McCord time, we know he's going to pick the opposing defenses apart. But if he's got people in his face the entire game, that's going to completely derail the offense as a whole.
One of the things about this game that I think makes SU fans nervous is the venue, right? I mean, they haven't won there since 2001. It's been 10 straight trips to Pittsburgh. They've come away empty-handed. What is it about playing at Pittsburgh that has given Syracuse so much trouble?
Well, I think it's a couple of things. One, they've often gotten them later in the season when Syracuse has been banged up, especially under Dino Babers. That's part of it. So they really haven't been fully healthy going to that venue in quite a while. And then Pittsburgh's been better. I mean, they've just been a better team. Syracuse has been a team most years where they're hovering around 500 or just under. And Pitt has been a team that's won, 8-9 games and, won an ACC championship one year. And they've just been a better program over the last several years. And I think that's part of it as well. It's really easy to say, well, that's just Syracuse doesn't have very good luck in that place. Well, but at the same time, most of the time when Syracuse has gone there, Pittsburgh has been better. They've had the better team, the better record, the better season. And so, yeah, they haven't been able to pull off one of those upsets. But at the same time, the outcomes have mostly been what most people expected going into those games. This is a little bit different, even though I know that Pittsburgh is a 6-point favorite right now. It feels like Syracuse has a team that is not overmatched talent-wise and that is confident that it can go in there and win. And we've already seen Fran Brown has beaten a ranked team on the road. He's won a conference game on the road at a place that they had only won once ever in their most recent game against NC State. So I don't think any of those types of things are things that Fran Brown worries about, that this is some sort of house of horrors that's going to be tough to overcome.
6-point underdogs. That surprise you? You said that, normally Pitt's been the better team. I don't know. Like, do you think Pittsburgh is that much better than the Orange?
It's a big number to me, and for a couple of reasons. One, I don't think it's giving Syracuse a lot of respect, to be honest with you, and I think they've earned some. I thought it would have been a little bit closer. And like I said, it's not like Pittsburgh has been blowing teams out. They beat Cal because Cal missed a very short field goal at the end of the game that would have given Cal the win. They were trailing by 20-some-odd points against Cincinnati, and they had to rally furiously in the fourth quarter to come back and win, which kudos to them that they did. But again, same thing with a mediocre West Virginia team that they had to come back from double digits down in the fourth quarter to come back and win that game. And I get, the West Virginia game's a rivalry game and weird things happen, and the Cincinnati game was on the road. But again, this is not a Pittsburgh team that has been blowing people out and beating people, and you say, wow, this is a really, really good team. They're kind of lucky that they don't have 3 losses already on the season. And what if instead of 6-0, those 3 didn't go their way and they were 3-3 right now? It really would still be the same team. So I think Fran Brown will mention that to his team a few times this week for sure.
All right. Should be a good one. It's definitely going to be a big one, whichever way this one goes. Mike, as always, we appreciate the time. Thanks for coming on. We'll see you tonight on the Orange Nation TV show.
Thanks, Steve. Look forward to it.
All right. Our good friend Mike McAllister joining us.
It opened at 3.5.
Doesn't 6 seem like a big number to you, too?
Doesn't that mean that the betting has gone all Pitt?
Yeah.
So I don't think it's like that someone is saying Syracuse is 6 points better. It's just the way the money's going.
Somebody
the
is.
Public.
Right.
The public. Vegas doesn't think that, right?
Well, it isn't, again, I'm still learning the whole gambling thing, but when the number opens like that and moves that quickly, isn't that the sharps that are jumping on it generally?
You just used a word I've never heard in my life.
The professional bettors that move the number earlier in the week. The public usually moves the number later in the week because they're like, oh, that game is tomorrow or that game's today.
Well,
I'm going to bet on it.
We're in that situation now because it's getting closer.
It's Monday. I'm just saying, I feel like a lot of times there's public movement within like 24 hours of kick. But I think prior to that, it's generally the professionals that are moving the line. I
just don't think Syracuse is getting the public props it should.
Yeah. No, it could be. I mean, 6 surprises me. I think that's a lot.
Because this isn't a case where it was like, hey, Vegas knows something. They made, like, from what I've heard from you and Jordan, 3 is the home field advantage, right? That's usually 3, so they're a half point.
Correct.
So so it'd be a pick 'em if it was in Syracuse, right?
No, it'd be a pick 'em if it was at a neutral site. Theoretically.
No, if it's a 3.5 point Syracuse dog at Pittsburgh at home, it would be a pick 'em, right? Because then.
I'll be honest with you. I don't know how that works. When people say it counts for 3 points when you're at home, I take that as if you're at a neutral site, then it comes down by 3 points. I don't know if that means that Syracuse would be a slight favorite if it was on their home field.
I thought they'd be a half-point dog.
Yeah, I don't know how that works, to be honest with you.
I don't know how any of it works.
I think if it was at a neutral site,
does that not make you
case.
Uncomfortable that you gamble so much and don't know?
I don't gamble so much. Yeah, I don't know why. I don't know why you say this.
Seems like a problem.
You need to. I don't know. You just need to stop with that. You need to stop with that. I don't know 100% how it works.
San Diego Q says that the public was all over NC State also.
All right, and we saw how that worked.
Pros are whales and sharks. Why are they all sea animals?
That's a comment from the chat?
Yeah.
All right. We want to stay on time here because we got Fran Brown's press conference coming up at 1 o'clock. So we will wrap up hour number 1 next, and then we will get to Fran Brown's presser at the top of the hour. We're back after this on ESPN Radio.